In the smoky halls of 20th century empire, innocence was a convenient myth. Irish propaganda painted childhood as fragile, untouched symbols of future peace rather than present defiance. Posters of laughing children, untouched by the trenches of Europe, flooded city streets. But behind these smiles, another truth pulsed. Youth conscripted not by age, but by conviction. In Dublin, school books were traded for dispatches. Boys and girls memorized routes, codes, and secrets more than arithmetic. Their small hands carried weapons of another kind: letters, maps, warnings whispered in alleyways. This veil of innocence was both shield and sword. And as the streets murmured with rebellion, children became more than mere shadows of conflict. They became agents. What happens when empire overlooks its smallest opponents? Their names rarely graced headlines. But from alleyways to attic, Ireland's youngest couriers wove rebellion through whispered roots. Boys like Sean, aged 13, and girls like Moira, only 11, slipped past British patrols with dispatches stitched into hems or tucked into loaves of bread. They knew the danger. Interception meant prison or worse, yet chose the path not in play but purpose. Dublin's cobblestones became a living map, each stone a story told by nimble feet and silent resolve. Some were trained by elder siblings, others learned the art of secrecy from instinct and desperation. In the quiet moments between urns, they wrote in diaries, testimonies of tension and triumph. Their innocence became armor, and their youth a camouflage. These children were not caught in history, they carried it. Not all revolutions are shouted from rooftops. Some are whispered onto parchment, in back rooms lit by aisle lamps. Ireland's youngest rebels became scribes of defiance. Paper was precious, ink scarcer still, but words were weapons. Young hands copied coded instructions, declarations, and rally poems with quiet precision. One teenage boy transcribed dispatches until his fingers bled, his pen a sword against silence. In Cork, a girl hid notes inside hollowed out novels, slipping them into church pews for pickup. Their script was fluent in rebellion. These children carried secrets not only through streets but through sentences. To be caught was to vanish. Yet they wrote anyway, because history is written by those who dare. And sometimes its authors are barely tall enough to reach the desk.
In shadows draped by linen dusk, where oil lamps flicker faint and hushed, a child leans in, his pen a blade, a silent war upon the page. The ink runs deep like blood withheld from trembling hands not yet rebelled. No rank, no medal, no parade, just whispered truths the brave conveyed. He tucks a cipher in a book, a hollow spine, a hidden nook. No marching band, no rally cry, just paper folded to defy. The desk's a battleground of thought, each letter risked, each sentence wrought. They carved the future line by line, in rooms where moonlight dared to shine. Though nameless in the rolling scrolls, their scripts ignited sleeping souls. Rebellion's voice was not just loud, it danced in cursive, proud and bowed.
They moved like whispers between buildings, eyes trained on sentries and signal fires. Youth too young to vote, yet tasked to observe, record, warn. Dublin's teenage scouts were the unseen eyes of rebellion, watching British troops' movements, tracking supplies, and flagging threats to rebel strongholds. One girl, Aoife, climbed rooftops at dawn, sketching movements in her father's ledgers. A boy named Colm used chalk symbols to mark safe passages on tenement walls. Their tools were simple: binoculars, bicycles, sometimes just memory. But their precision shaped strategy. Their courage saved lives. These weren't children of chance. They were chosen, trusted, relied upon. In parks and alleyways, they reported by whisper or gesture, where one wrong turn meant betrayal. Their silent watch became the pulse of resistance. Through shadows, they stitched survival into the story. Beneath chimneys and cobblestone echoes, the scouts became messengers. They ferried coded notes tucked inside crusts of bread, disguised warnings as nursery rhymes, and used laundry lines like a semaphore. In a city muted by curfew and suspicion, their communication was orchestra without sound. Aoife rode past a British checkpoint, humming a Gaelic melody whose rhythm marked safe times for crossing. Colm left a skipping rope looped thrice on a gate. Urgent intel delivered in daylight disguise. Behind every silent signal was defiance. Behind every child was a cause. The rebellion's heartbeat pulsed, not in shouted slogans, but in the quiet cadence of strategy. In whispers, rhymes, and chalk, these scouts became the living ink of resistance, writing freedom into Dublin's hidden corners.
Step into the past and uncover the heart of Ireland. At Emerald Chronicle, we bring you hundreds of captivating documentaries exploring Irish history, myths, legends, and folklore. Our playlists guide you through Ireland's fascinating journey, from prehistoric Ireland, proto-historic and Celtic eras, and the early Christian and Viking periods, to the Anglo-Irish invasion and the lordship of Ireland.
Delve deeper into the Tudor conquest and religious conflicts, the union with Great Britain and the Great Famine, the fight for independence and the divisions of the 20th century, and Ireland's evolution into the 21st century. Best of all, we keep all our documentaries at 15 minutes or less, making it easy to explore Ireland's history, even on a busy day.
Every time you watch, you're supporting the upkeep of our channel. And when you share Emerald Chronicle, you're helping to promote Irish history and culture worldwide. We kindly ask you to like and share, and subscribe to Emerald Chronicle now. Let's keep Ireland's stories alive together.
The rebellion's pulse quickened as whispers turned to roars. Scouts who once moved unseen now found themselves in the open, their roles shifting from shadows to shields. Aoife, once a rooftop observer, now carried messages through gunfire. Her bicycle tires skidding on blood-slick streets. Colm, the chalk artist, became a guide for rebel fighters, leading them through alleys he once marked for safety. The city itself seemed to rise. Tenements became barricades. Parks turned into rally points. But with visibility came vulnerability. Scouts were captured, interrogated. Some never returned. Yet their courage became legend, their sacrifice a rallying cry. In the chaos, they were no longer just scouts. They were symbols of a city's defiance, the heartbeat of a rebellion that refused to be silenced. The rebellion's crescendo left scars on Dublin's streets and its people. Scouts who once carried whispers now bore the weight of loss. Aoife, her bicycle abandoned, stood at the edge of a mass grave, her ledger clutched tightly, a record of lives and sacrifices. Colm, his chalk worn to a nub, etched a final mark on the tenement wall, a symbol of hope amidst ruin. The city mourned, yet it stood defiant. Families lit candles in windows, their flames a quiet rebellion against the darkness. The Scouts' legacy became folklore, their bravery immortalized in songs and stories. In the aftermath, Dublin rebuilt not just its walls, but its spirit, each brick laid with the memory of those who fought for freedom. The echoes of sacrifice became the foundation of a city reborn. Years passed, but the symbols endured. Dublin's rebuilt walls bore the faint lines of Colm's chalk, preserved beneath glass by grateful locals. Aoife, now older, ran a modest print shop near the river. Each leaflet she pressed carried echoes of those turbulent days. But it wasn't just memory, it was momentum. Young students gathered under flickering lamplight, tracing scout codes and planning vigils. The rebellion spirit had seeded movements for rights, for workers, for peace. In whispered poems and quiet defiance, a new generation took up the torch, not with rifles, but with truth and tenacity. The Scouts were no longer just stories, they were templates for courage. And though Aoife's bicycle stood rusted near the print shop door, it remained a monument to motion, to bravery, to belief. Beneath Dublin's quieter streets, the resistance still stirred. Decades after the rebellion, Dublin streets whispered stories of the Scouts. Aoife, now a grandmother, watched as her grandchildren traced columns chalk symbols on museum walls. The print shop had grown into a cultural hub, hosting exhibitions and workshops that celebrated the Scouts' legacy. One day, a forgotten ledger was unearthed in a tenement attic. Column's final sketches, detailing plans for a rebellion that never came to pass. The discovery reignited interest in the Scouts, sparking debates, documentaries, and a renewed sense of pride. Aoife's voice, once a whisper, became a guiding light for those seeking to understand the past. The Scout story, once confined to alleys and rooftops, now resonated in theatres, classrooms, and hearts. Their legacy was no longer hidden, it was unveiled, a testament to the enduring power of courage and unity.